Hello and welcome to the John Ark Show. Today we have another episode of Viewer Consultations. This is where we answer the questions posed by viewers. Before we begin, I want to encourage you to subscribe, like, follow, and comment on the show. Also, I'd like to tell you about a service called HollywoodIsCalling.com. It's a great service that allows you to purchase live phone calls with some of your favorite movie stars, TV stars, and athletes. It's something you can do for yourself or you can purchase as a gift for someone else. A live 15-second call is $19.95 and a live 30-second call from your favorite star is $29.95. So go to HollywoodIsCalling.com and check out all the stars you can purchase a live call from. Now, let's get started. Tanya writes, I just lost my job. Should I try and start a business or look for another job at the age of 50? First, Tanya, you should apply for unemployment. Get that application in the pipeline immediately. Then, at your age, you should simultaneously begin a new job search, and you should start developing an idea for a business that you can work on part-time in the evenings and on the weekends while you're also working your new job or while you're conducting your job search for a new job. The point is to multiply your options, not to diminish them. You don't want to put all your hopes in one basket, thinking that you're going to start a business, it's going to turn out great, and that it will support you from here to the finish line. That may work, sometimes it does, and it may not work. Oftentimes it doesn't. 90% of all new restaurants fail. A lot of new businesses fail. A lot of major businesses fail on a regular basis. So what you want to do is proceed simultaneously down multiple tracks. Get your application for unemployment into the pipeline. Start a very serious and aggressive search for a new job. And start developing ideas for a business that you can run either virtually online or perhaps as a consultant or perhaps in the physical and real world. You want to increase your options, not narrow them, especially at the age of 50. Sammy writes, I used to own a taxi cab in New York and I had my own medallion. Now I'm drowning in debt and not making any money because of all the ride-sharing services. What should I do? Well, the new ride-sharing services have devastated the taxi industry nationwide, not just in New York. In New York alone, from what I understand, the value of taxi medallions has dropped by 80 to 90%. Now, for those of you who don't know, in New York, you have to purchase what's known as a taxi medallion, which is essentially a license, and that allows you to drive your own taxi around and make money. Up until recently, these medallions were worth almost $500,000. So, if you were a sole individual, you wanted to have your own taxi service, what did you do? You took out a massive loan, a $500,000 loan, and you purchased a medallion and you went into business as a driver. And you drove and you drove and you drove, making good money at one point while also servicing the debt on that huge loan. Then, of course, the ride-sharing services debuted and they grew in popularity. Their growth was explosive, and they didn't share a lot of the overhead that a lot of long-time taxi companies had to endure, and what a lot of independent taxi medallion owners had to endure. So while those people were being crushed by debt, the ride-sharing services continued to grow and grow and grow. I've read reports where some taxi drivers were committing suicide in the United States and abroad because their businesses have dried up. They can't service the debt on their enormous loans, and they feel that their future prospects are really bleak. You should never ever consider that. People have survived world wars, they have survived cancer, they have survived hurricanes, and they have survived earthquakes, and they will continue to survive. As long as you're breathing, there is still hope. Take all your energy, all your resources and start pursuing and developing other options. You will survive this just the way other people have survived other calamities and catastrophes. What you have to do is to work harder and smarter and with more innovation than you have ever worked in your life, and dedicate yourself to finding a solution. Now, at some point, if you have to, you may have to consider filing for bankruptcy to discharge that medallion debt. Or you may not. I don't know your personal circumstances. But you do need to explore all your options and pursue them with tremendous tenacity. Never give in, never commit suicide, never throw in the towel. Always, always continue the fight. Always. Jesse writes, what do you think of all these foreigners trying to marry Americans so they can get their green card? Is it possible to find a good foreign spouse that's not trying to scam you? No, that's an interesting question. It is possible, but it's very rare and it's very difficult. Part of the problem is that it is not possible to get to know somebody properly in the 90 days that the government allows you to get to know them before you have to apply for your green card. That's just not doable, and that's why so many people are being scammed, because they're being forced to do this in such a shortened and compressed time frame. To begin with, all your initial consultations with whoever you're pursuing romantically overseas should take place over Skype or Zoom video, not via text, not via phone call, Skype or Zoom video. It's free, and you need to see the facial identity of the person you're trying to connect with. Why is that? Because almost all of these scams start out with the scammers hiding their identities behind text messages. Why is that? It's because they'll put up countless fake photos of themselves on countless singles websites and dating websites, and then they will assume multiple identities and try and ensnare countless Americans into thinking that all the romantic hopes and dreams have just been fulfilled, and they're in true love. And now, if you don't mind, could you please start sending me and my family some money just so that we can get by until I can come to the great US of A. So that's very important. All initial contacts should be done by Skype video. If you do that, then you will eliminate many of the headaches and many of the scams. Step 2, you should take a considerable amount of time getting to know them. Meet their family, meet their friends. Make sure you're not going to be financially required to support their families, which is what a lot of scammers want you to do. The minute you hear that, back out, turn around, and walk out the door. That's just part of the scam. So listen, and here's the third recommendation. So many people get so blinded by their love and their passion and their excitement that they do the worst possible thing you can do. They ignore the advice of family and friends who are telling them to drop this person. Why is that? Because they all make the mistake of thinking that family and friends don't know this person as well as I do. That's not the case. What's really happening is that you're just blinded by your own lust and sexual appetite and your loneliness. A lot of people are just crushed by loneliness, and so that's altering your judgment. It's not everybody else's judgment that has suddenly become impaired when they tell you to avoid this person. It's your judgment. So, if you want to avoid being scammed, one thing you should definitely do is listen to your family and friends. Let them meet your new romantic interest on a Skype or Zoom video call. See what they think. And then also make sure that you meet the family and friends of your romantic interests via Skype and Zoom video. That's really important. It also makes it much more difficult for them to perpetrate a scam on you. Preston writes, is it possible to make money by opening up a funeral parlor? Interesting question. You know, funeral prices are skyrocketing, and they're becoming less and less affordable for people. You know, many people are choosing cremation these days so they can save money or just not spend money that they don't have. You might want to explore setting up a virtual funeral ceremony service online or on social media that helps fill this commercial void. You know, a lot of people, they're just shocked by what it costs to have a funeral these days. I was driving through a Midwestern city not too long ago, and they had a banner on the side of the funeral parlor that was offering funerals for $29.95. Now think about that. That's just the cremation. So you know, it's very easy to spend 20 or 30 or $40,000 on a full-blown service, which is outrageous. It's just insane. So um, so providing these funeral services interactively is something you may want to explore before you dump a boatload of money into the starting of a funeral parlor or the purchasing of an existing funeral parlor. Think about it. That's a ton of money. Now, people are going to continue to be passing away for the foreseeable future. But the question becomes, can you make money off of it the way they used to? And that's getting increasingly difficult. Next question. Dawson writes, is commercial real estate or are multi-unit apartment buildings still a good investment? Well, up until recently, they were one of the safest investments. Now everyone is scared to death of them and nobody knows how to value them because collecting rents has become so difficult with what's happening to the economy. The problem is people are scared to death of losing their jobs, and so they're asking for rent deferrals or forbearances. And the building owners are not able to collect enough rent to make their mortgage payments. So they're in jeopardy of losing their rents. And people are also scared to death of what happens if the virus returns again in 6 months. What do they do then? What if they don't get their job back? What if they lose their job a second time? These are all questions that are weighing very heavily on the real estate sector, and it's causing it to freeze up. Transactions are slowing to a crawl because, as I said, people are unable to properly mark them, to value them. They don't know what these things are worth anymore because they can't count on the rents coming in as they should. It's a big problem. Brian writes, I'm really scared about the economy. Should I invest in physical diamonds and just hide my wealth? No, that's a terrible idea. The value of diamonds is largely an illusion. If you want hard assets, I would recommend physical gold, or and you have to buy it from multiple highly respected dealers. I would also start looking at the purchase of multi-unit apartment buildings in which the owners have begun to panic because they can't collect the rent. If you can buy one of these multi-unit apartment buildings for no more than 50 or 60 cents on the dollar, then you might have some real value there. So give that some thought. Whatever you do, whether it's gold or real estate, remember the golden rule. Do not put all your eggs in one basket. So thank you and good luck, and we'll talk to you soon.